My capstone title is Across Time and Context, a self-reflection on learning and teaching reading. So before we start, I would like everyone to look at the girl in the center of this picture. And can you guess who do you think this person is? And how does she approach academic reading as a learner and as a teacher? And you're right, that's me. So I grew up in monolingual family. I speak Thai as my first language. I learned English since I was young because English is a mandatory subject in school. So where did my passion in learning English come from? That was the moment in this picture. I joined a cultural exchange program when I was 14. That was the moment I learned to use English as a communication tool to speak to people who use different languages and didn't perceive English as a tool for passing exams. I feel that my world is bigger because I can communicate with more people. And that was the moment I don't want it to fade away. So I seek better opportunities to engage more with English language by pursuing my undergrad degree in architecture in an international university where pedagogy was provided in English. And after graduated, I attended intensive English program at the ALI to pursue my master degree. And my interest in language learning has grown during my study at the ALI to the point that I want to give these experiences to other people. Then I decided to change my field from architecture to language teaching. And here I am presenting my capstone and completing my TESOL degree. So throughout my experiences, reading skills became a crucial key of my language learning and professional identity development. Because in Thailand, reading was my main source and exposure. It was not crucial for my academic and life success, but in MA TESOL study in the US, most of MA classes are seminar class that readings will be assigned before class and we discuss the readings in class. So effective readings in the disciplines was a key to access academic study. It is needed to participate and understand discussion. This was my great this was my greatest challenges in adjusting and joining the professional community. So today I want to address how my experience as a learner transfer to emerging identity as a teacher. To make the journey, I needed to break through the challenges I faced as a reader. Those challenges and my experience of overcoming challenges now also inform my teaching. And here's it presentation overview. On the next slide, I would like to talk about why reading is important, my guiding questions, background of my study, reflective inquiry, and insights in to reading and identity. So why reading is important? Here's my first experience of reading specific discipline text. I spent so much time reading and try to understand each sentence I couldn't understand from skimming, so I read word by word. My difficulties in specific discipline reading can be implicated that automaticity is in decoding fluency is a key, but also this automaticity needs to be put to work when reading in the disciplines or different genre in order to be success in academic study, because people have limited amounts of attention. If reader pay their attention to decoding words, they may not have enough mental energy to think about the meaning. So on the other hand, if readers can automatically decode the words, they can focus more on the meaning of the text. And the next slide, I would like to show you the very standard model of reading fluency. But there's something important missing here. It is motivation. So reading is not only about language and comprehension skills, but motivation is also an essential part of being fluent in reading. However, motivation is not the whole picture. Motivation also related to past and current experiences, self-efficacy, and learner identity. With bad reading experiences can negatively affect learners' motivation, self-efficacy, and their identity. So my thinking on my own reading experiences led me to think about these three questions. First is, how has my thinking on L2 reading changed over time? Second, how has readings in L2 shaped my identity as a TESOL student and teacher? Third is, how can I use the knowledge I have gained from these experiences to help students overcome difficulties in reading in second language? And before we go through the detail, I would like to provide some background of my study. First, reading comprehensions are highly correlated to reading fluency, as reading can be seen as an interactive process between a reader and a text. It leads to fluency in readings, which means a reader can comprehend the text with less effort. Also, reading fluency is a skill that can be maintained for long term, and reader can retain their fluency after a long period of no practice. Second is challenges in L2 readings. From studies in reading challenges in second language, there are two aspects I mentioned. The first aspect is language limitation. Students may have limited vocabulary knowledge, background knowledge, or ineffective strategies. The second aspect is cognitive process that related to self-efficacy, motivation, context, and culture that may shape the way they read. Last is motivation in reading and identity. So learners' motivation in reading comes from their interest and understanding of reading purpose. To elaborate, it's become a cycle that their reading experience can affect their motivations and how they perceive themselves as an ESL reader, which influence on learners' identity that can be reshaped based on their experiences. And here's my three contexts with different periods of time that I focus it on. First is EFL and ESL study in Thailand and in the US. Second is my graduate level study in MA TESOL program. And I used my practice in teaching context where I perform as a TA in an online reading class in Japan and in a non-credit ESL class at CCSF. And here's a method and approach that I chose for my self-study. A reflexive approach are considered as a central tool in experience-based learning to examine personal assumptions and goals, and to clarify individual belief systems and subjectivity. My intention to use a self-reflective approach is to examine how those experiences changed my belief and how those shape my goal as a learner and teacher. I would like to think deeply on how those experiences can return to students and teaching practice. For my data analysis, I use a self-reflective journal as my data. First, I collected reflective assignments from TESOL classes and wrote reflective journal on 3 different contexts. Then I identified my reading habits, my L2 reading challenges, and my belief from journal. What you see on the slide are sample excerpts from my self-reflective journal in MA study and from second language acquisition class. Next is my first insight. My reading challenges change across contexts. This quote is about my frustration moments in reading in disciplines in my first semester of TESOL program. I will read it for you. I didn't know how to apply what I learned from the English classes to this kind of reading. I didn't have any ideas of what I was reading or what I needed to understand from the readings. I lacked purposes of reading. And here's a second quote that I would like to share. A greater volume of readings, the unfamiliar contents, advanced vocabulary, and complicated sentence structure made me feel overwhelmed. So I listed my challenges in 2 different contexts. As you can see from the slide, compared from my challenges in Thailand, I faced it with more challenges in reading. Besides of limited opportunity and lack of fluency development, I faced it with insufficient prior knowledge, unfamiliar reading genre, limited language competence, and those challenges affected my academic performance. My second insight is my changing roles and identity in L2 readings. I realized that I developed my reading fluency through my experience. Being familiar with the course contents helped me to achieve reading tasks. My experiences that I gathered while studying MA is a part of my reading fluency development. So, experiences in TESOL feel positively affected my self-perception. I perceive myself as a competent language user, and being able to comprehend theories and concepts transform my perspective to be a competent member of TESOL field. And those experiences influence my role as a teacher as well. My own learning experience gave me an understanding of challenges students may encounter and understanding that how fluency in reading can be developed to support student academic goal also widen my teaching perspective. And here's my last insight, how to help students in the future. Throughout my experiences, the moment I feel comfortable with readings is when I understand what I'm reading, why I'm reading it, and how I can apply what I read. So teaching reading is not only giving academic support, but also motivational support in order to help students to keep reading. It also helps students to improve reading fluency for lifelong reading and academic success. In order to create a supportive environment, teachers should provide first choices of readings. Students can choose on what they are interested in while exploring various choices and genres of reading. Second, provide authentic purpose of readings. So students have meaning making experience and have opportunity to interact with others in response to the text, focusing on communicate their understandings and share ideas. Third is giving students time to experience moment of failure and prepare in classroom by having support from teacher and classmates. Here are my two key points from my self-reflection that I would like to share. First, reading is a part of L2 academic and professional identity. Reader can develop, reshape their identity through their reading experiences. And to develop fluency for lifelong readings, positive self-efficacy is an essential. And thank you for your attention. Before we move to Q&A session, I would like to thank you, my family and my friend, for always support me, both personal goal and academic goal. Also, Dr. Osher, my advisor, who always give me motivational words and academic support. TESOL faculty, my professor, my mentor, and my classmate who are a part of my wonderful experiences in TESOL program. And okay, I'm ready for answering your questions. You can speak or type your question in the chat. And on the screen is my contact. If you have any question, thoughts, or feedback, feel free to email to me. Okay.
Here,
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for providing such excellent reading support in my intermediate class at City College. You've definitely made my students, our students, better readers. And in thinking about the rest of our semester together, I think motivation is so important in reading. And what do you think? How do you think we could determine the motivation of our students in reading, because that is a more academic skill, and especially with adult learners, I think it is a little challenging sometimes to motivate them as readers, because and also this is something that for longer readings has to be done outside of class, so there's that motivation too, to be a self-directed learner. So I was just wondering if you could comment on that.
Yeah, I have some thought for your questions. From my experience of being TA in your class, I think the moment that we can kind of like assess or determine student motivations is see if see if they're willing to read aloud, like to speak in the class. That is the way we can see their motivation in readings, if they're willing to read in the class, or they're willing to read before the class and join the discussion. Yeah, I hope that's answered your question.
I want to leave the floor open for other questions too. I'll maybe just put a follow-up question in the chat. Thank you so much, Kier. Yes, that does help.
Thank you for the question, Barbara. Thank you, Jennifer, Irid, and Katie. So Dr. Osho asked, what advice do you have for other international students making the transition to MA TESOL studies? I think that's more like a mental preparation. Not like you make yourself to be, not just only like make your mind to be ready, but you have to take your time to adjust yourself. It's not like a skill that you can make the transition in really short time. So I spent my first semester to adjust myself from architecture perspective to TESOL perspective, to understand the terminologies and to think like a TESOL students. So I think the advice that I can have for other international students is to take your time to be familiar with your learning context. It's really a part of your experience that it cannot be changed in a short time. That's why you have to give yourself a time to prepare. Thank you for your question, Dr. Santos. I was wondering what from your AI experience stay with you the most now that you're about to graduate MA. Yeah, I experienced that stay with me the most. I think it's my last semester, is my semester in Gateway program that I had. I took one class of the SFSU class with international with the native students. So that's the moment that's it's kind of like I changed my environment from study with my international student to study with native students. My first class of TESOL was Dr. Osho class, the grammar class 423. And I was so nervous, but it's my first step that I thought that, okay, that is the moment I'm going to be a TESOL student. So Yes. Thank you, Jennifer. So that's the moment that I think that ALI really prepare me, give me a choice, like to prepare me for a higher level of um, higher level of the academic study.
Yeah,
So it
Kira,
keep
I just wanted to respond. I really, really appreciate that response because we tend to think of reading as a solitary activity, but your answer reminds us that you need to be reading with others and to think about how that has implications for our study spaces, for reading activities, that we have to be very intentional about orchestrating, kind of pushing people to read with others, to make reading a collective act. And there's a lot of constructivists on this webinar, so that will not be a shocking thing that we all rally around. But I so appreciate it. Kira, I'm just so proud of you. I'm feeling overwhelmed by the trajectory that you're putting on display for us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santos. Yeah, that's what I think as well. Like, it's not really clear when I'm TESOL students, but it's clear when I'm being a TA in Dr. Oishi class and Barbara class. That's how we can teach readings and know that has student have motivation to read. Like, so usually we ask students to read aloud so we can monitor how they understand or how they share their idea from the readings. Also, it's reading aloud is also help us as a teacher to give them a support, like we know what they need from that activity. Yes.
I had a question. This is Tarek. Congratulations, Key. That was very powerful. And I kept thinking about the word organic. You know, you have such a wealth of experience as a language learner and transitioning to a teacher. But what I'm most curious about is how do you kind of decide what to share about your personal experience with students? Because we often think of, you know, with teachers, sometimes we want to have a little professional distance, but you also have this great experience to draw upon. And as you said in your presentation, you know, you understand the challenges students may encounter. So I'm just curious from your experience with your TAing and teaching, how do you kind of navigate those relationships and when to share and when not to, or maybe it's something you don't think about and it happens naturally, but I always think about that as a teacher as well. So yeah, what do you think?
I think it's because like I am TA, so sometimes students also ask me how I improve my reading skill. They always ask me when we doing a discussion group, and that is the time that I also share my challenges. I share my challenges first because like my student also know that I am not using English as my first language. So they're really curious. They were curious how I can be a teacher using English like to teach them. So that's the moment that's I think I feel comfortable like to talk to them about my challenges, and they are inspired from my story, my experience. And that's why I start to think that I also can use my experience to teach them as well. They're feeling that if I say just only, oh, you should do this to improve your readings, they kind of like, they want to know more, like why they have to use this method or these their strategies to improve their readings. So yeah, I think that's answered. I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you. It sounds like you build a strong relationship with your students. Congratulations, Key.
Thank you, Tarek. Yeah. Um, sure. Like, I'm reading message in the chat. Yeah, thank you everyone again for joining my presentation session. This is really meaningful moment for me. And I think it's 10:30, so we having very good time here. Thank you so much, everyone.
Congratulations, Kier.
Thank you, Dr. Santos. And
Congratulations, Kier.
Congratulations, Kier.
Congratulations, Kier.
Yay.
Yay!
It's so wonderful to see all your networks coming together from Thailand to the ALI to City College. Barbara, I am just so, it's just wonderful to see your face here this morning. Thank you so much. I know how hard it is right now over across 19th Avenue. And so for you to be here is just such a demonstration of commitment. Thank you.
I wouldn't miss it. Kira is such a special part of this semester for me. And I'm so excited that she's going to continue working with me this summer.
Yay, wonderful. That's awesome news. Thank you so much. Well, thank you to everybody for getting up early, and I won't ask if you still have pajama bottoms on, but we're all here. And enjoy the rest of the day. I look forward to seeing you in the Zoom space. Thank you to the ALI staff who are here. I see many names that are associated with ALI.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you come to my presentation session. I would like to say that everyone's also like a part of my wonderful moment here as well. Like, so I came like this far. I don't know how to express in English right now.
You're done. That's all you have to say right now. That's all you need to say. You're done. That's great. Enjoy the rest of the day, Kier. Enjoy the moment. Take care.
Okay. Yeah, see you. See you later. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Dr. Rashir.
Thank you, Kier.
Yeah, thank you, Kier.
See you soon.
Okay. See you soon. Have a great weekend.